Everybody, I actually have a story time today, which will actually be one of many. Not saying that, like, this story time series or whatever, like, all of them will be, like, connected to each other, but, like, they all have the same point, okay? So, this story time, takes place, I guess I want to just say at the park. Obviously I'm not going to say, like, literally where it is. And I was meeting up with one of my friends. His name is Jonathan. We are going to the park because we're just going to hang out, right? So I tell my mom I'm leaving, and then I go out my house, and I start walking to the park, which is like a 10-15 minute walk, I'd want to say. I was texting Jonathan. He said that he had just left his house and he was in the car, so I was kind of just walking. And the original plan was it was just going to be me and Jonathan hanging out, and we were going to go there and, like, hang out for a little bit. And there's, like, a Walmart right up next to the park, so, like, we were planning that we can maybe just walk right up to the Walmart, like, if we get bored, and then we could, like, buy some shit and then come back and then, just have a good time. So I get to the park, and me thirsty as fuck, I press on the button to the water fountain. I pressed it, nothing came out, so I just had to stay there thirsty. And then Jonathan texted me saying that he's about, like, 2 minutes away from the park, and he's going to be pulling up relatively shortly. So I'm like, hell yeah, I'm going to get to see you in a second. That's cool. So Jonathan's dad drives him up, like, behind me. I didn't really see them at the time. But Jonathan was just, like, in the car, and he wouldn't get out, so I was, like, a little bit confused. And then Jonathan got out of the car, and instead of saying hi to me, he was like, hey, my dad wants to talk to you. So I walk up to his dad, and he was like, hi, my name is, and then he says his name. Obviously I'm not going to expose this dude's name. And he shakes his hand, and he's like, all right, now are you going to protect my son for me and make sure he's safe? And then so I'm just like, okay, yeah, I'll protect your son. I don't know, sometimes I feel like my weak, scrawny ass is only really capable of protecting myself. I mean, I have a knife in my pocket, but other than that, like, I'm not really, like, I don't have that many feats to me. So I get done talking to Jonathan's dad, and then me and Jonathan kind of, like, walk off, like, deeper into the park. This isn't, like, a national park. I don't want to give them this, I already said that Walmart's nearby, so, like, y'all probably didn't think that, but I just had to make sure. Oh, and a part of the story I didn't mention, I know I said the original plan was it was just going to be me and Jonathan, but the original plan was I was actually going to, like, meet up with Chris, but then my parents said I couldn't go to the park. But then they said I could go to the park again, but I was already almost, like, certain that Chris had canceled, and I didn't want to have to, like, make him need to persuade his parents to go to the park. So I just asked Jonathan if he wanted to go, and then we went. So Jonathan's dad, he drives off. I already said that, like, a bazillion times, and me and Jonathan walk deeper into the park. We're walking around the park, and there's quite a significant amount of people in this park. There's parents, and then there's little kids, and there's a playground. Me and Jonathan are a bit of age to be using the playground, so instead we just, like, walked off where there isn't, because it's a decently big park. We just walked off where there isn't, like, very much people, and we just sat down. Like, in this whole area, I want to say for, like, a good, let's say, like, 100 to 300 yards, there wasn't, like, any people, and we were just, like, in this shady spot sitting on a bench, like, talking about some shit. Like, me and him were talking about, like, I was telling him about like, some of my mushroom trips, and he was talking about, like, a Benadryl trip that he had where he took, like, 45 tablets of Benadryl allegedly, and then allegedly, like, had a really, like, scary trip where he thought he was gonna die. Funny stuff, scary stuff, but, that's what we were talking about. Fast forward, like, I want to say 45 minutes of talking. We didn't really get bored of talking, because, me and him like talking to each other, but, I guess we just decided it would be, like, fun if we, like, did something, like, else that would be, like, more exciting. Now, at this park, there's a fire station nearby, and there's this, like, little kids elementary school that goes from kindergarten all the way to 6th grade. It's kind of funny because I was actually a 6th grader at the school once, and I fucking hated my teacher. As a matter of fact, being in that 6th grade classroom is actually how I met Chris. My friend from the other stories, him, yeah, cool dude. So me and Jonathan, like, low-key thought it would be pretty funny if, like, because, like, you can't go into the school. It's not, like, just where, it's, like, open all the time, like other schools, and you can just, like, go in, like, after hours and, like, play basketball on the basketball courts. Nah, they have that shit locked up. Like, and they have, like, it closed with, like, chains and, like, big-ass locks. Like, you need to be on some Breaking Bad shit with, like, Jesse Pinkman, like, Walter White using the thermite so that they can get the methylamine can. Like, the shit was absurdly locked up for an elementary school. Or, actually, now that I really think about it, it kind of makes sense. So, I go up this, like, higher elevated part where there's, like, a road that cars go down, and then if you go a bit farther, there's, like, a golf course and this, like, pretty cool clock tower that, you know, me and my friends sometimes like to go over to. So what I did was, I hopped the fence, and then I started walking around the school. Like, there was cameras, there's basketball courts, there's this little kid playground, and honestly, I'm gonna be real, it was, like, pretty nostalgic, because I haven't been there in so many years. You know, I'm well out of 6th grade, nowhere close to there anymore. You could even really easily say that I'm well out of middle school, you know? Obviously I'm not in fucking college, you know? I'm not literally gonna say what grade I am, but, you know, not in college. Not a freshman. But walking around this school, it was, like, pretty nostalgic. I recorded some of it on my phone because I low-key thought it was funny as fuck. And then for a period of time, Jonathan was recording me while I was just walking around. He even, like, recorded me hopping the fence. It was great. I want to say that throughout this whole time, I did the fence, like, another, I want to say, like, 3 or 4 times. And something I noticed while I was going on the fence is that, like, at the fire station, it looked like on top of the fire station, there was, like, a firefighter on top who was, like, looking in my direction. He was looking at me. It looked like he was up there because he was, like, fixing something or something like that, or he had something up there that he needed to do. But, I mean, in the fire station, there's, like, a couple cop cars, just in case if they needed, like, quickly, like, dispatch some cops out, like, to somewhere where, like, something happened. Like, say somebody, like, robbed Walmart and, like, demanded $5,000 in cash. A cop could just go out of the fire station, take, like, a 10-second drive up to Walmart, and then, like, stop whatever's going on. So, I mean, I'm a bit nervous that, like, this firefighter is gonna, like, see me, and he's gonna care, and, like, a bunch of other bad shit could happen, so you can imagine that I was, like, trying to be cautious. Every time I jumped off that gate to, like, go back on the park side, like, I kept, like, rolling my ankle, and it would hurt really badly. I'd be like, oh, fuck, and then Jonathan would start laughing at me, and, you know, it was funny, you know, I was eating shit, it was crazy. But after a while of all this, like, bullshit and shenanigans, me and Jonathan, like, sit down on this bench, and we start, like, talking, because he's gonna go see a movie pretty soon that he really likes. The next day after this, he's gonna see a movie. So we were kind of just talking about that, because he was, like, really excited to see this movie, and I honestly understood it, because, you know, I low-key wanted to see the movie too, and guess what? In my pants, I feel my phone vibrating, and honestly, I was kind of on... At this time, I'm, like, on thin ice with my parents because, you know, they caught me doing all kinds of shit, like weed and shrooms. So I expected it to just be my parents, like, trying to call me to see what I'm doing. But to my surprise, I opened up my phone. I took my phone out of my pocket, and it wasn't, like, my mom trying to call me. Instead, it was actually Chris. So me and Jonathan, we just look at each other, and then I answer the phone. And at first, like, Jonathan was kind of, like, laughing a little bit. I don't know why, but Chris was kind of just like, hey, are you up to anything right now? And then I was like, oh, kind of. Like, you remember that park thing? I'm at the park with Jonathan right now. And then he was kind of like, dude, what the fuck? Like, I thought you couldn't go. And at this moment, I felt, like, really, really, really fucking bad, because it made it seem like I canceled on him just so I could hang out with someone else. But, like, nah, I wouldn't do that, because, like, he's one of my top homies ever. You know, I always want to hang out with him, so I told him, like, hey, is there any chance that you could, like, try to come over here? And he was like, give me a second. And then I want to say, like, 5 or 10 minutes later, he calls me again, and he says, like, dude, you have no idea how much fucking persuading it took to, like, convince my parents to let me go out. And I was kind of just like, dude, my bad, just get here quickly, we want to hang out with you. So me and Jonathan kept talking for like another 20 minutes just about that movie he wanted to go see and stuff like that. And eventually, Chris, I almost accidentally said his real name, called me again, and then he said, "Oh, I'm here." So me and Jonathan both get up, and then we start looking for him. And sure enough, we see Chris. He's like he's like near the bathrooms, kind of, and we're like walking up to each other. We all link up, and we kind of just start awkwardly walking around and talking, because we didn't really know, like, what we wanted to do yet. I know that all of us were, like, still having a good time nonetheless, We were kind of just, catching up, because now we got a third guy, Chris. He's the man. Jonathan, I'm pretty sure he fucks with Chris, they get along, they talk. In my opinion, Chris is, like, one of the funniest dudes I ever met, so, he's definitely, like, a real charm to hang out with. So, pretty much next, I decided to, ask Chris, like, if he wants to say, like, go into the elementary school with me, because pretty much me and Chris, like I said earlier in the story, me and him like met back in that like 6th grade. The classroom, we had this teacher, I'm just gonna call her Miss Bitcher, because that's all she really did, was she would like bitch all the time, and she'd always get on our asses. Me and Chris did not like this bitch. So, I hopped the fence again into the elementary school, and then Chris is kind of just like, yo, I think I'm too unathletic to get in there, so I'm kind of just like, whatever. I'm like, come on, dude, try. But then he just couldn't do it, he couldn't bring himself to do it. Not because, like, mentally he couldn't, but physically he couldn't. I don't know what was up with this dude, he just couldn't really make it happen. So what I do is I hop the fence into the elementary school. I walk around a bit. Chris and Jonathan are just watching me, and we're all laughing. But, like I said, that firefighter that was, like, kind of up there, like, almost on the roof of the fire station, like, doing maintenance or whatever he was doing, he was looking right in our direction, so I was still a little bit paranoid about that. So pretty much I was like, okay guys, I'm gonna run over this way and I'll meet you guys over there, because I was gonna hop the fence right back over onto the other side, like onto the sidewalk near the golf course and the clock tower, because I didn't want the firefighter to see me again, because surely he would get the cops involved. He already saw me many other times. I don't want the cops getting involved, because I'm pretty sure that's a nice, big, beautiful trespassing charge I don't want to have to deal with. So I'm running over to, like, out of distance where the firefighter wouldn't be able to see me. I hop the fence, rolled my fucking ankle again. Chris and Jonathan are asking me if I'm okay, and whatever. I was okay, we all kind of just had a laugh about it, and we go back over to the park. And we're over at the park, like, where these wood chips are, and there's a bunch of plants around. And we made a realization. Holy shit. There is a datura plant. Now, if you don't know what datura is, I'm not even sure if datura is, like, legal to grow in California, but there's literally just this fucking datura plant, like, growing right next to this fucking elementary school. I even used my Google Lens to, like, take a picture of this and, like, see if it really was a datura plant. And sure enough, it was a datura plant. So, datura, like, if you're not familiar with that name, it's pretty much like salvia, which is a really strong psychedelic, but it's pretty much like horror mode salvia. So me and my friends kind of had the bad idea, datura. Chris, he grabs some of the flowers off of it. He, like, makes it all, like, powdery and, like, fine with his hands. He fucking snorts that shit right up the nose. Nothing happens to him. I grab some, like, sprinkle it up. I go... And then immediately, just everything goes, like, whoosh. It pretty much felt like somebody hit me in the head really hard, and, like, I fell onto the ground and everything went black, and I just felt really, really, really scared. And then, like, I hear muffled, like, distorted talking. I'm seeing, like, creepy, like, faces and, like, creepy eyes, like, looking at me, and, like, they're blinking really, really loudly. And then once I get up, I see Jonathan and Chris, but they look really, really creepy, and they, like, keep getting taller and shorter and taller and shorter, and when I look them in the face, their eyes, like, they didn't look normal. It looked like they were, like, slowly turning into, like, creepy snake eyes, and they were getting like these creepy, like stretched out, like distorted smiles, and I just didn't like it. Like I really wasn't having a good time. It wasn't fun. And then, but eventually it started to like come off. Like I was like seeing different colors, but like other than that, it was like coming off, and I was like being okay again. With Chris, he didn't really look like he was like feeling anything. But pretty much, I'm pretty sure after this happened, me, Jonathan, and Chris kind of just sat down at this bench at the park, and Jonathan had this bag. Now, he had already opened this bag earlier because he gave me an energy drink, and he drank an energy drink himself, which was really nice of him. I was, like, really thankful. He had a NOS, and he gave me a NOS. Like, we both had these, like, grape NOSes, but he opened the bag. He had some hot chips. He had some cookies, and then he had some Sour Patch Kids. It was like the pack of like only the blue ones. So me and Chris were fucking hyped, you know, we're all just fucking feasting on these snacks. And then we decide to play hide and seek. Now, I pull out my phone, I go to Safari, and then I go to the Wheel of Names, I put all of our names in. I put my name, I put Jonathan, and then I put Chris. And I spin the wheel, and it landed on me, so I had to be the seeker. I counted to 2 minutes and 30 seconds while looking in the direction of, like, the road. It's the same road that, like, goes over to the golf course with the clock tower and stuff like that. So they could go pretty much wherever they wanted, and, like, I couldn't see them. So after the time is finished and I go to find them, as soon as I look behind me, I see Chris really, really, really fucking far away, like over by the entrance of the elementary school. So, you know, I zip up my hoodie and I just start running because I'm gonna fucking get this fucker, you know? He can't hide from me, you know, I'm like the best fucking seeker ever and I'm gonna get his ass. So I catch up to his little bitch ass. I got him, and then we're like, okay, let's go find Jonathan. And, you know, he starts to, like, trip. Like, he's saying shit that doesn't make sense. He's looking at me funny. He's randomly just jumping. He's just looking weird. So I'm kind of just like, you know, he'll be fine. I go up, I see Jonathan. You know, I'm like, what's up? He wasn't even hiding anymore. He just came right up to me and he was like, dude, there's people over there and they're being really creepy. And this will be important for later on in the story. You know, maybe I did something later on that I kind of am going to regret a little bit because, you know, it was a little fucked up, but whatever. Like, apparently, like, a group of middle schoolers, I don't know if they were in, like, 7th or 8th grade, but they were, like, one of those, like, high egotistical, kind of just, they think they're the shit, you know? I'm not like a fucking complete asshole where I just think like all these people are, but I think those people could be better, you know? I think they could do better. I think they could be more humble. I think they could fucking be nicer to people and, you know, shit, but pretty much though, Jonathan has like the same style as me. You know, he wears like ripped up jeans, you know, he wears all black, kind of like the alternative like clothing, you know? He wears eyeliner, you know, he kind of just dresses like me, which he doesn't dress like that because of me, you know, he just has, like, sort of the same style, but apparently those kids walked up to him and started asking him a bunch of weird questions, like if he was a girl, if he has an ussy with a P at the start. I don't want to get this video age restricted, so I just said that. I know, I gotta do what I gotta do. But I mean, it's kind of funny because even though Chris was on one and he literally wasn't in the right space, even he thought that was weird as hell in his fucking Datura tripped mind. I mean, then again, I'm not even sure, you know, I'm going a little bit off topic. I'm not even sure that Datura plant was even like pure Datura. It was like, it might have been like a close cousin of Datura or something. I'm not even sure because I'm pretty sure like real like pure Datura would last like hours, but this shit only lasted like 20 minutes tops. But so me, Jonathan, and Chris are kind of just walking around like, whoa, those guys are fucking weird. And, you know, these are just the average like disrespectful like wannabe ghetto middle schoolers who are always like saying some crazy shit and just pretty much being disrespectful to anybody. And we don't like that, but we're not just gonna like confront these kids or like jump them or beat their ass because that's fucked up. We don't really do that to people. We don't jump people. We don't just do that because we want to kind of just mind our own business and kind of just have fun and not really affect other people's lives because, you know, we do stupid shit, but we're not a bunch of fucking assholes. We're just a bunch of fucking idiots. But it's kind of funny because even though Chris was literally fucking on one and he was tweaked out of his mind, like, literally, even he thought that shit was weird. Like, he could still, like, kind of understand, like, what was going on and what me and Jonathan were talking about. But, he thought it was fucking creepy. So, me, Jonathan, and Chris, we kind of just walked back, you know? We weren't gonna fucking jump these kids or, like, you know, confront them or really, like, focus too much on it. Because, like, at the end of the day, we don't really want any trouble. You know, we don't want to, like, start trouble. We don't want a bunch of bullshit. We kind of just want to mind our business and, like, have fun and shit like that. So, me, Jonathan, and Chris, like, go back up where, like, that road is, and, like, there's, like, this big concrete bench. We all kind of just sit down and talk, and, you know, Chris, his little adventure, if you will, just slowly got worse and worse and worse. He was saying shit that didn't make sense. He kept walking away from me and Jonathan, because he was, like, getting scared. I don't know. Eventually, though, it did, like, kind of start to calm down from him and, like, wear off, and he was, like, starting to calm down. He was becoming more chill, and he wasn't, like, freaking out anymore at me and Jonathan. And, you know, we all just came back to having a good time, but, you know, things started to, like, slow down where we were all starting to be, like, a bit more quiet. We all, like, kind of went on our phones and, like, did our own thing. And then, I want to say, like, around this time, this was, like, a good, like, 20 minutes later, it had completely worn off of Chris. Chris was good. Chris was chilling. And then Jonathan decided, like, hey, you know, I think it's time for me to go. So Chris stayed sitting down on the concrete bench. Me and Jonathan walk up. His dad pulls up, and I wasn't just going to let Jonathan go right in the car, because then his dad would, like, fucking hate me, like, oh, you weren't trying to protect my son. So, you know, I walk with Jonathan up to the car, and I'm like, you know, bye, dude. He gives me a high five, and then I walk back over to Chris. You know, don't go around doing this. I don't really recommend it, but, me and Chris had the bright idea to go fuck Walmart in the ass. How did we do this? By fuck Walmart in the ass, I mean, steal a bunch of alcohol. Yeah, that's not really the wisest idea. I don't recommend you go out and do this. But so me and Chris kind of just laughed, and we're walking, like, uphill on the sidewalk, like, up to the Walmart. You know, there's a whole plaza with a bunch of stores. Oh, I fucking voice cracked. That was bad. But there's a plaza with a bunch of stores. We're just walking up, and we see Walmart. And, you know, we walk up, and we're just making jokes on the way, and, you know, it's funny. And we're about to go into Walmart. We're, like, I want to say we're, like, 50 yards away from Walmart, and we're, like, kind of at this, like, lonely part where it's kind of just a road that, like, leads up to Walmart. There's this huge fence where, like, there's, like, a bunch of trash on the other side of the fence, and it's, like, enclosed, and it's, like, you can't hop the fence because that would be trespassing, you know? We obviously didn't do that because there's also, like, a bunch of tall grass near the litter, and, you know, California, there's fucking snakes, and we don't want to have to go to the fucking hospital. That would be horrible. But as we're walking, like, along the sidewalk, we see those same little kids from earlier. That one match of hide and seek we played where Jonathan tried hiding, but then that group of, like, middle schoolers walked up to him and said all that weird shit. We see, like, those kids. And one of the kids said something, and then another kid said something. I didn't really make it out. And then me and Chris, like, we keep walking, like, towards Walmart, and then I want to say, like, 45 seconds later, Chris was like, yo, did you hear what they just said? And I was like, no, I didn't really hear them. And then one of the kids was like, he was a short dude, shorter than me. I want to say, like, he was like, this guy was pretty short. He was like 5'1", 5'0", 5'0", you know what I mean? I'm not really good with explaining heights because I'm kind of a fucking idiot. But apparently that guy was like shoddy bad when he saw me because, you know, how I dress. I wear eyeliner, long hair, you know, like black clothing, you know, kind of just the average loser fit. But, you know, I like to dress that way because, you know, I'm a fucking dumbass. But apparently then, like, the other guy stepped in and he said, that's a dude. Because, you know, you can tell by looking at my face that, you know, I'm a guy. Boys have different face shapes than girls, you know, you can just tell. To say the least, though, you could probably say that I was, like, weirded out as hell by this. Because, I mean, like, you know, first of all, where the fuck are your parents? And, like, two, how do you just have the audacity to, like, walk up to somebody you've never, like, really seen, like, officially met, or, like, introduce yourself before and just fucking say that? Like, what the fuck? Like, not to sound like super bitchy, but like not only is that like disrespectful, but that's also just like fucking weird, and it kind of makes you look like a fucking idiot. But we kind of just forgot about this because me and Chris like finally get up to the Walmart, and we look at the entrance. The entrance like is like blocked off by a trash can. I don't know why our Walmart location does this, but like whenever it's like after like 5 p.m. and it was like dark by this time, like it was completely pitch black dark, daylight savings. So we enter by the exit because that's the only way we could get in. That's the only way anybody could get in at this time. And, obviously Walmart's still open and you're still able to go in there. I don't know why they do it. So we go inside. Me and Chris already kind of knew, like, what devious plan we had in mind. So Chris said that he was going to go to the bathroom. I went over to the aisle of adults. Holy shit, that made it sound like the back of Spencer's. My bad, guys. But, I grabbed this thing. It was like a hard seltzer, 5% alcohol. I grab it, and then I take it into the bathroom. Now, as soon as I go in there, in the bathroom, there's one stall and 2 urinals, and then, like, 2 sinks, and then, like, some paper towels. So, a pretty small bathroom. As soon as I get in there, I instantly get hit with the smell of dog shit. It didn't even smell like human shit. It smelled like dog shit. So, first thing I'm thinking is just like, yo, Chris, what the fuck you eating, man? And then eventually he comes out, I crack the thing open, and we start, like, oh, also, Chris isn't fucking disgusting. He washed his hands. I watched him wash his hands. He washed them meat puppets good, so, thank you, Chris. But pretty much after this dude washes his hands, we start passing the shit around, and I'm making sure I don't have as much he does, but I give it to him, he gives it back to me, and I give it to him. And we're just having a good time. We eventually come back out. We get another one, except this time it was one of those, like, monster cans. I'll include one in the thumbnail. Not just a normal monster. This shit was hard monster. 6%. Like, this shit's tough. Or it might be 5%, but I think it's 6%. But when we tried to go back to the bathroom, there was like a worker in there cleaning, so we're like, fuck that. So we just went into an aisle, and then, we cracked it open, we put it behind some laundry detergent, and then, like, we just wait for the coast to be clear, and then we drank it. I had a little bit, he had some, and he was like, damn, bro, this shit's extravagant, I'm loving the flavor, so I'm like, hell yeah. He finishes it, we leave, we're fucking dizzy as hell, fucking laughing and shit. We bought some chocolate and, like, 2 bags of hot chips. We split this bag of crunchy fajita Takis, and we're just enjoying it. We come back to the park, and then we say bye to each other, and then he's gonna get in the car and hope for the best. I gave this dude the rest of the crunchy fajita Takis, because apparently he had the munchies, so I just wanted to, be nice and give it to him. In all fairness, he gave me change inside of Walmart after he was done at the self-checkout, because, he's the GOAT. So, as I'm, like, kind of walking back home, because this was the end of the night, the end of the hangout, I hear yelling behind me, and I see one of the kids, like, from the group of middle schoolers, like, kind of running up to me, and this is, like, the part of the story that I was, like, making you guys wait for. So, this guy, like, runs up behind me, and he was like, hey, yo, what's up, shoddy? And I was like, kind of just like, I'm a dude. And he was like, can I put my Instagram in your phone? And obviously this guy was just fucking with me. He wasn't being serious. So I'm kind of just like, yeah, bro, I don't swing that way. In all fairness, I was like kind of being real with him. I don't swing that way. And then he just kept pissing me off. And this wasn't really a good decision. I think I was just fucking drunk. But what I did next was I pulled out my knife. I opened it. And then I just started acting like I was crazy. Sure enough, this kid got scared as fuck and ran away. Don't worry, I wasn't gonna do anything. I just thought it would be funny as fuck if I scared, like, some high egotistical. Don't do this. I honestly, like, low-key regret it. He wasn't, like, terrified, but he was like, holy shit, I should get the fuck away from this dude. This guy's fucking crazy. I'm not fucking crazy, but, I thought it was fucking hilarious. I still do. Although I regret it. Don't do this. It's bad. Don't fucking do that. That's, like, a crime. So I get home, me and Chris were gonna end the night off by playing some games together, but I had to kind of dip out early because I wasn't feeling the best. I felt nauseous. So, I didn't have a lot of memories from the night because I kind of, like, blacked out a little bit, or I just forgot a bunch of shit. But I wake up the next morning and I'm on independent study. But the next morning, I'm getting texts from Chris, and he said, like, dude, I feel so horrible. I shouldn't have done that. I feel crappy. My fucking head hurts. Like, ow. I want to die. And honestly, I just felt so bad for him. Like, damn, bro. It said that he was, like, going to throw up. And he had to go to school like this. The PE teacher that me and him both have, like, wasn't really doing shit about it. Just that fucking asshole. So, I'm, like, feeling bad. Like, telling him drink water. Apparently this shit was lasting him long. He's like, yo, never again. Or never again on a school night. So I'm just like, that makes sense and stuff like that. But, me, Chris, and Jonathan, we all had a really, really, really good time. It was really fun. I'm just overall really grateful that, like, it wasn't just me and Jonathan and, like, Chris was able to, like, come and hang out, because that, like, extended the fun and just overall made it better. We had a third guy in there. Trios, I know a lot of people say that trios, like, suck and trios fall apart. I love trios. Trios are fucking awesome. But, yeah, that's the end of the story time, and I'll definitely be doing more of these, hopefully ones that are more fun, maybe ones that are longer, but, for now, that's kind of it, so I'll just see y'all in the next video, I guess. Yeah.